Every day, millions of people in the United States go to their job, sit at their desk, and push papers around or ones and zeros. But they don't actually know the biggest secret of all, that they're playing a game. And the worst part, they don't know the rules. Hey everyone, my name is The Cartographer. I felt compelled to make this video because I've worked at, consulted for, or been a supplier to a ton of companies, and I've seen various versions of this game that I'm talking about. And if you're a new graduate, or if you're even just starting out your career, you need to know what we're going to talk about here. I want to teach you about how to win this game. We're going to walk through the overall structure of these games and 3 principles that will give you an edge. Let's get into it. All right. I used to play strategy RPGs, and many of them used to, and actually some still do, they have something called a fog of war. You only see part of a map. And this fog is what keeps everything hidden until you explore part of the map. Now, here's the thing. I've talked previously in other videos about career fog. It's the same in a company. Now, if you want to break down career fog, there's a couple things to know. First off, there are hidden rules in the form of compensation, structure, policies that you need to figure out in each company you're in. So as an example, if you're in a consulting firm, when you start out, if you just have an undergrad degree, you're typically going to come in as an analyst or something of the sort. You may not get a bonus. So a lot of what you're doing is you're working a lot of hours, but you're getting perks in terms of flying to different locations, getting dinner paid for, getting food paid for, and that sort of thing. Now, another perk is you can actually use flights back home and back to the client to actually go to wherever you want on the weekend. So you won't have to pay for that. And so a lot of analysts or people who just start out in consulting firms take advantage of that. Now, that's true as you move up as well. But as you move up, you start to earn a bonus based on a bunch of different factors. Now, the specifics of these hidden rules or this game that's in the consulting firm is really dependent on each firm. And so the smart people are going to come into a consulting firm and quickly figure out, hey, how do I max out my compensation when I come in? How do I get the most out of this job? In the same way, as you move up, if you're going to get a bonus, your question's got to be, who are the people that are playing the game the best? And how do I emulate what they're doing so I can max out my bonus and do really well at the firm? And so those hidden rules, they're not so hidden if you look for them, but they're not, people don't come out and actually tell you those things, right? So that's one, the hidden rules within the company you're in. The second thing about career fog in these companies is there are hidden skills to move up, but they're not laid out for you either. Now, one way to figure out where those things are is looking at job descriptions, but they're not always posted. But in some companies, they may actually list out, hey, in order to move to this level, you need these skills. But in a lot of companies, they're not. So in some ways, there are hidden skills you need to figure out to move up. And then third, there are also hidden power dynamics in companies as well, in the form of relationships, who influences who, and potential people who are rising up in a company, and potential people who are falling down in a company. All of this depends on the unspoken power dynamics that are going on. So all of this adds up to hidden rules, hidden skills, and hidden power dynamics that create career fog, or essentially some form of uncertainty or confusion in a company. Now, you've seen people that have navigated these things. They know, hey, here's the place in the company that you should be working at because you can get paid really well and not work too much, or whatever the answer is, whatever the hacks are they've found. These are people that understand how to break through this fog of war I'm talking about. Hey friends, if you stayed with me this far, I want to give you a gift. We've compiled a list of practical experiments that you can do in the next 1 to 2 weeks to figure out what kind of career might be good for you. Essentially, these experiments can help you determine what you enjoy doing and what you might be good at naturally. And the best part is you can gain these insights very quickly. Go to this website and sign up to get access to the Career Experiment Cheat Sheet, and we'll send it right over, back to your regularly scheduled programming. So how do you play this game? How do you do well at whatever company you're at? Well, here are the 3 tips. First, study the rules. I kind of mentioned this, how you are compensated and what sort of incentives the company is trying to push. Pay attention to what they want you to do. So for example, if they give you a higher bonus if you bring in more customers or clients, well, what you should be doing is looking at what the criteria are and pushing hard on sales, right? If you're in a sales sort of role, if you're paid on commission, look at what the compensation structure is and what it's incentivizing. So for example, I'm going to use consulting again. There's a concept of up or out in many consulting firms. And what that means is if you're not doing well enough each year, you're going to be asked to leave. You're going to be counseled to leave or CTL'd. And so what that means is the incentive that the company has created is for you to always be working hard, always be pushing the envelope in terms of good performance, right? So think about that. Those are the hidden rules of the game. So maybe a logical response for you would be, well, I know myself, maybe I can't handle that pressure for the long term, but I can do it for 2 years. Well, I'm going to play this game for 2 years and max out what I can make and max out my exit opportunity, right? So how do I come up with that strategy? Well, I studied the rules and what the rules are incentivizing. In your company or your position, that might be different. The second thing, write down the skills required for each job level. So I kind of talked about this. These are not usually publicly available, but what it is these are the sets of skills you need to master somehow on your job to move to the next level. Now, as I mentioned, sometimes you can find these skills listed on job descriptions, but sometimes they go beyond that, right? These are things you can learn as you're on the job, talking to people a level or two above you. Then, once you figure that out, mold your job to fit those skills by basically arguing with your manager, politely, of course, to push your work experience and the things you're asked to do to model those skills or build them. And so this may mean, hey, you realize the next position up requires you to manage a budget. Maybe you're in a company and you're an engineer and you want to be an engineering project manager at some point. Well, you're not going to get that opportunity all the time unless you go ask for it. So you may go to your manager and say, hey, look, I want to run a project where I have budget responsibility. Well, the manager may say no at first, but then if you pester them a bit, you may be able to come to a compromise. And so the good thing about that is once you're able to get some of that experience, you've gotten those skills, you can add them to your resume, and then you're now powered up so you can actually handle the next level, right? And so when you're asked the interview question about, tell me about a time when you managed a project budget, you have the answer right there. You don't even have to make up anything or any of that. You can honestly say the experience that you've gained, right? And then third, power dynamics. So we talked about studying the rules, writing down the skills, and the third is understand the power dynamics at your company. And what this really means is you need to socialize. You need to become friends with a wide variety of people in order to understand how the firm works, how the company works. If you've ever watched The Wizard of Oz, there's this concept of the man behind the curtain. Usually in different departments, there are people that you may not have heard of that are really very influential and they control things, right? Now, you can also find out who's rising up the ranks fast or what areas of the business are growing. And then you need to kind of network your way into those areas. There may be groups within your company where everyone seems to be really happy. They have a great work-life balance. They're making a lot of money or whatever the case may be, whatever you're looking for. Literally network into those groups and make yourself useful to those individuals. For example, to use an analogy from, back in the day, make alliances. Do something as a favor for people. And once you've shown that you're helpful and knowledgeable, you've gone above and beyond, people will take note of that. And then when it's time for you to want to go into their firm or move into their department, they might pull you in. Essentially, favors are the currency of the powerful. And so once you've shown interest, you could ask someone to even be your mentor. And mentors are a huge part of understanding power dynamics. They're going to help you shortcut so much time and help you figure out where to not go so you don't waste your time. Some mentors even drag their mentees up the ranks as they move up too. So a lot of this is, basically understanding the lay of the land. And if this sounds like a lot of work, sometimes it is. But the reality is these three things are going to help you figure out how the game is played in your company and how to win.